Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday evening to you all. I hope you guys are having an awesome night out there so far and had yourselves a great Tuesday and a great start to your work week. If today was your start, it was mine. First day back to work since last Wednesday, so I had a lot of catching up to do, but it took me till about 1 or 2 p.m., but I certainly got caught up. But anyways, hope you guys have had an awesome day out there and having a great week. Got you a pretty big, very detailed update on this significant snowstorm that's starting to get cranked up as I speak. It's starting to snow in areas like Denver, Colorado, and will continue to work its way through portions of the state of Colorado, then into Nebraska, and then Iowa and surrounding areas, Kansas, South Dakota. We're going to get very detailed for you folks in this video. We're actually going to, zoom in on certain areas, take a look at what the National Weather Service is showing. So some of you folks where, some of these towns that don't get mentioned a lot in these weather videos, we're going to show you actual predicted snowfall totals from the National Weather Service themselves on what maybe these little small towns that don't get a lot of notice out here, and some of the bigger towns also could potentially get snowfall wise. So we're going to break it down for you folks. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the severe weather threat tomorrow, because there will be a severe weather threat. And then we'll start to talk about the fact that we're going to have multiple storm systems after this storm system that's cranking up right now. I'm talking about another 2 to as much as 4 storm systems that I'm already not necessarily zooming in on, but I can already tell you 2 to 3 of them are probably going to happen. We just got to work out the details. We're going to talk a little bit on that, talk about how much cold air is going to be involved. And if you live in the Ohio Valley, maybe even portions of the south central U.S., the Northeast, I'm not talking about the Southeast so much yet, but maybe the Mid-Atlantic. Hang on, because a lot of people want to cancel winter, but for you folks, I would like this pattern setting up, and I'll talk about why here coming up here in a second. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I'm a little jacked up on the energy drink, so hopefully the energy is far past the energy that I had this morning. I was getting tongue-tied and everything like that, and just couldn't speak right or something. So hopefully I got some high energy for you guys in this video. So let's get rolling here. If you guys got anything that I can pray over, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. So let's start slowing this down here. Here's our system. Riding through the Rockies right now. This is it. It doesn't look too impressive, but it's going to look a lot more impressive as we're waking up tomorrow when we have a better view of what's going on with these cloud tops, things like that. But some snow is going to be widespread into the overnight hours, eventually make it into Nebraska and then into Iowa as we get into the next 24 to 36 hours, areas of Kansas. But this is the beginning stages of our storm. We look at watches and warnings right now. Winter storm warning stretch from Denver, Colorado, all of Northeast Colorado, pretty much I would say a good 85 to 90% of Nebraska is under a winter storm warning. You got about 6 counties under a winter storm warning in Kansas, northwest Kansas, several counties in South Dakota, southeast South Dakota, and then a large chunk of the state of Iowa, and in a few counties also in Minnesota are under winter storm warnings. Winter storm watch is up still for a lot of counties in southern Minnesota, and then just about the entire central area of Wisconsin under a winter storm watch, and then areas of the UP and Michigan and northern Michigan. We got winter weather advisories up still for areas of the Northeast, but we're not going to talk too much on what's going on right now there. But listen, it's going to be a significant snowstorm across the middle of the country. In fact, before we break down how this is going to look, let's check out what's going on for the National Weather Service, the radar out of Denver right now. It's not too impressive, but snow within the next, I would say, 1 to as much as 4 hours will really start to get more widespread in this area right into here. And this will eventually start to drift into these areas of Fort Morgan, Sterling, Colorado, eventually make it into Nebraska, North Platte, and all these small towns and communities. Kansas in here, you guys are going to get some snow right into here. So this is coming, and I think the radar will certainly fill in a lot more overnight, but it's coming, and this snow, Nebraska right here, Kansas right here will eventually continue to work through, and then the epicenter of probably the heaviest snow is going to set up right into here somewhere, but there's going to be heavy snow outside that area too, but the probably the area to see has the best chance of seeing over a foot is probably in this circled area. But listen, there's going to be other areas that exceed expectations too as far as snowfall. This is a big snow coming for you folks. One of the biggest so far this winter, if not the biggest. Denver's already had a couple big events, one that happened a couple weeks ago, but this is going to potentially drop close to 8 to 10 inches of snow on Denver. But here's the evolution of the storm, guys. This is the beginning of it. So let's talk about the HRRR model. And then, guys, stay tuned. I know most people just want to see how much snow is going to fall in my specific area, and we're gonna get very detailed here in a second. Let's talk about the evolution, the latest long-range HRRR model. This starts off at around 9 p.m. Eastern time, so that's about 8 p.m. Central time, and then back that up another hour for the Rockies. But we continue to work this through here. We're getting into about the middle of the night right here. Snowing like crazy in northeast Colorado, riding right up Interstate 76 where it connects to 80 right into here, and then Interstate 80 snow begins to overspread the entire area as we're getting to about 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning, and then heavier pockets of snow. There's probably going to be a little bit of a dry slot somewhere here in northern Kansas where somebody doesn't get as much snow as what they think they're maybe going to get, and I'll talk about that here in a second. The National Weather Service in Kansas has a great write-up about that. But we continue to get this going here. We're waking up Wednesday morning, and this is potentially what the radar can look like. I would say about 60 to 70% of Nebraska has winter weather falling. As far back as eastern areas of Wyoming, southeast Wyoming, it's snowing. Still snowing in Denver at this point, snowing in eastern and northeast Colorado, and we keep this going all the way to about midday. And heavy snow. Listen, this could start off pretty heavy for like Omaha, potentially even a period of very heavy snow in Des Moines tomorrow afternoon. You see these dark blues. That's what we call frontogenesis. So basically it's forcing where the column is super saturated right here due to the fact that you've got a lot of warm air advection, but the temperatures aloft are still below 32 degrees. And I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but basically there's no dry air in the atmosphere. So basically every snowflake in this area right in here is making it all the way through the atmosphere. So I really think tomorrow afternoon it's going to snow very hard right here in far eastern Nebraska, and then in areas of western Iowa, and these areas of Iowa right here, right near Des Moines. It's going to snow pretty hard tomorrow afternoon, I think. And then it's still snowing in Nebraska, all of Nebraska, and then you're going to watch for some wraparound snow showers and heavier bursts of snow for these areas of western Kansas. And then not mention South Dakota, but pretty much all the southern counties, especially the southeastern counties of South Dakota, is going to get some appreciable snowfall from this, and we'll keep this going all the way through about Wednesday evening, tomorrow evening, snowing very heavily in all of northern Iowa. And then we watch for you folks in Minneapolis. And of course, southern Minnesota, far southern Minnesota is going to get a heck of a snowstorm for this, but Minneapolis, big wild card here. How far does the axis of heavy snow make it tomorrow night? We're just not quite sure. How far south is it down here? Maybe the far northwest corner of Illinois. But I really think areas of pretty much all Wisconsin, it's going to get a pretty substantial snowstorm from this. I think Green Bay could get a lot of snow. And as we keep going, this is basically, all this is pretty much overnight tomorrow night. And then we're waking up tomorrow morning. A lot of heavy snow starting to inch closer to the UP of Michigan. A lot of heavy snow falling and potentially in areas of northern Michigan. And then we'll take this all the way out to the end of the frame, and it's snowing at a moderate to heavy pace in the UP of Michigan at midday Thursday, and still snowing in Wisconsin. So that's the entire evolution of the storm pretty much here. It's moving through pretty quick, but listen, there's going to be some heavy snow with this. So let's talk about snowfall accumulation. Stick with me. If you're wondering about your specific location, chances are I'm going to cover it. Let's talk about the National Weather Service in Boulder. This covers Denver and all the towns and cities in this area. Right now, starting to snow in Denver. Some National Weather Services get very precise with their predicted snowfall totals. For example, the Boulder's doing that. They're saying 9.3 inches in Denver. But let's just say somewhere between 8 to 10 inches of snow can fall in Denver. Fort Morgan around 10 inches, Sterling around 10 inches, Akron, Colorado, about a foot of snow. You start to work a little bit further northeast, and it starts to rise a little bit. But find where your city is on this map. Boulder, around maybe 8 to 9 inches of snow. Fort Collins, 9 inches. This might be a little hard to see on your screen. It's a little blurry even when I'm looking at it, but hopefully you can see it pretty good. Lyman, hopefully I said that right. Maybe that's a lemon, but Lyman, maybe 7 to 8 inches of snow. Burlington, Colorado, around 7 to 8 inches of snow, but pretty stout cutoff down here, like Colorado Springs. Most people have heard of that. Not as much, maybe just 3 to 4 inches. So we'll watch that. Let's go to the National Weather Service in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I don't want to gyp you guys and not talk about y'all, but Cheyenne could see 5 to 8 inches of snow into the overnight hours. And, all this is available to the public. Honestly, just literally type in NWS space then Cheyenne, or you can type in NWS watches and warnings and then click on your area on the map and it will take you right to the area covered by the National Weather Service. But, pause the video if you need to, guys, and read these descriptions. For you folks living in this area, you know about your region a heck of a lot more than I do. I'm sitting here in Columbia, South Carolina, trying to figure it out for you guys. But this looks like it's going to be more of a southeast Wyoming snowfall here. So Cheyenne, 5 to 8 inches. Arlington, 5 to 8 inches of snow. But the further you work more so into Nebraska, the more snow you get. Scotts Bluff, 5 to 8 inches. Bridgeport, 6 to 10 inches. And hopefully this helps you guys. I really hope it does. I took a little bit of extra time on this video to pull up all these diagrams for you that, by the way, got updated this afternoon and this evening. So these are updated things here. So the National Weather Service in Goodland, this is a tricky area, guys. And you notice they got this red dotted area circled. This is saying there's a little uncertainty on the snow totals in this area. And listen, for example, in Wallace, here's Hays over here, not Hays, Kansas, not going to get a lot of snow. More than likely. Goodland, Kansas, anywhere from 4 to 10 inches of snow. That's a pretty big spread, right? The spread shrinks the further north you get. Right here, you start to get up here in Nebraska, and the spread shrinks a little bit where, they have a little bit higher confidence. But down here, Wallace, you got 1 to 6 inches of snow. Okay, so, you can get an inch of snow, you can get a half a foot of snow. Colby, Kansas, 3 to 9 inches of snow. So, there's a pretty big spread here, guys, and this is tough. Wallace, Kansas, that's the crazy one to me, 1 to 6 inches of snow. So don't get mad at your local people out here. This is a tough one. The more you work into the axis of heavier snow, the better chances you get. There might be a little icing into this also. Look into the National Weather Service in Hastings. Hopefully, I was about to say Hastings, but I think it's pronounced Hastings. This is even crazier. You look at this, you look at North Platte, which is a big area. I know I've had a guy that's been asking about North Platte that's just been paranoid to death that it's going to shift too south for you guys. This is going to hit you guys pretty hard. A foot to maybe as much as 1.5 feet of snow predicted for North Platte, which is a bigger town in Nebraska. But check out all these other areas. Tryon, 12 to 6 inches. Broken Bow, 12 to 16 inches. Ord, 12 to 17 inches. But look, as you get down here, right? Superior, 2 to 6 inches. Hebron, 1 to 7 inches, guys. Lincoln, Nebraska, it's just 3 to 8 inches. It's a tough. York, Nebraska, 4 to 10 inches. So it's a pretty big spread. It just tells you how uncertain they are about this. So cut these guys some slack. This is a tough system, especially on the southern branch of this. It really is, guys. And I feel like there was an icing map for this too. There is. So there's going to be ice down here, especially, once you get south and southeast of Hastings, Nebraska, the ice really starts to go up south of town into these communities down here. Certain areas, Hebron could certainly, I think it's Hebron. I'll say this. Please correct me. I apologize. I'm doing my best, but learning as I go when it comes to these towns up here. No ice expected up here. All snow. Heavy, wet snow up here. But there's definitely going to be an area of ice down here in southern and southeast areas of Nebraska. Okay, so definitely be prepared for that. Maybe as much as a 1/20 of an inch of ice, and that starts to get into danger ice territory. So you look up here, this is the National Weather Service of North Platte. So this is where the heaviest snow is going to fall, right here. The axis of heaviest snow right here in west central and central areas of Nebraska. Find your city, and there's some pretty high confidence. It even lists the snow forecast down here. Pause the screen if you need to. It's saying by 6 a.m. tomorrow, this is how much snow has fell by or could fall in this time frame. So it's saying, for example, Valentine, Nebraska, it's saying that 4 inches of snow can fall between midnight tonight and then 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then it's saying, maybe another 2 to 3 inches of snow can fall between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. and 12 p.m. So it's saying that, hey, these snowfall rates could be pretty good. At least it's probably going to be an inch or two an hour. But gusty winds too, which is something I haven't really talked about in this. There's no blizzard warnings up here, but you're going to have 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts blowing around. There is going to be brief blizzard conditions on and off. Okay, you keep this going. You look at the National Weather Service in Omaha, another area where, hey, if precipitation starts as freezing rain in this area or sleet and doesn't turn to snow by later afternoon, snow amounts may be lower, exclamation point. So it's telling you that, hey, if it doesn't turn to snow by a certain point, you're probably going to be jammed up in an ice storm. So watch out Lincoln, watch out Omaha. 3 to 8 inches of snow, 3 to 9 inches of snow in Omaha, which is a city most people know, in the lower 48. Why I think most people have heard of Omaha, Nebraska. Maybe not everybody, but you start to get north of Omaha and northwest of Omaha, this is when you start to get to the heaviest snow. Lincoln and north, heavier snow. Down here, you're going to be dealing with a little bit of freezing rain and ice. You're going to have a little ice in Lincoln and Omaha, especially a little bit further south. So Sioux City, 7 to 12 inches of snow expected. Norfolk, Nebraska, 9 to 12 inches of snow. Y'all see it on the screen. This area right here, Nebraska is going to get slammed. It's going to be a pretty substantial winter storm for you guys. National Weather Service in Sioux Falls up here, which I just mentioned. Now, this is the northern extent of that uncertainty zone, that they're not sure where the axis of heaviest snow might set up. Does it drift a little bit further north? And big cities like Sioux Falls, I know it's not a big city, but it's a bigger town up here. You're right on the fringe of almost a foot snowfall totals and maybe just lower, under a half a foot. But look how sharp this cutoff is. For example, you look at Wagner, South Dakota, 6 to 11 inches possible. But then you go right up the road to maybe Mitchell, South Dakota, 2 to 6 inches. And then you go, a little bit further up the road and it's hardly nothing. But then you go far, it's the same thing if you work the other direction. This is on the northern extent of the snow. But listen, it's going to be pretty heavy. It's saying high snowfall rates are likely south of Interstate 90 Wednesday evening and night. And that's what I mentioned. Listen, you're going to have 2 to 3 inch per hour rates possible. So this is the professionals mention this. I'm telling you, and I mentioned that when I just showed you what the potential HRRR model can look like. It's going to be very, very heavy snow that I'm watching for tomorrow evening and tomorrow afternoon and evening, guys. I would not be surprised if you have a couple bolts of lightning. I wouldn't at all. National Weather Service in Des Moines. So this is really the area I'm watching. There is going to be a very heavy band of snow that sets up somewhere right here, where I think Des Moines could get most of their snow in about a 3-hour period. 3 to 6 inches of snow predicted in Des Moines. And then there's an area of uncertainty in this region too. So they're just saying that they're not quite sure. You got to watch out. It's saying uncertainty along the southern edge of the snow due to the potential for a wintry mix or rain to occur at times, which would reduce amounts. But listen, I'm telling you, you guys are going to get a heavy, what we call a front-end thump of snow. It's going to start off very heavy snow, probably tomorrow evening and tomorrow afternoon and evening. I keep wanting to say evening before afternoon, which is vice versa. But as soon as you get north of Des Moines, you get up here to Fort Dodge, Iowa, 7 to 10 inches of snow expected. A lot of snow up here, not as much as Nebraska or for your neighbors to the west, but a lot of snow right here in northern, especially areas of kind of north central or west central, northwest central areas of Iowa, if that's even a thing. But listen, you don't have to get very far south of Des Moines, and you might not get any snow. Creston, 2 to 5 inches of snow, but you might be on the lower amount. But I really think this area could be a boom factor where you pick up a lot of your snow very quick. And it mentions this here. Snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches are possible from late Wednesday afternoon into the evening. That same time frame I just mentioned. I'm telling you, watch out for this area. So we keep this going here. And we are looking at the National Weather Service out in the Twin Cities, which is, Minneapolis. Right now, 4 to 5 inches predicted in Minneapolis. But just south of town, you start to get into some heavier snowfall totals where you get 7 to 9 inches of snow. This is a tricky area. This is an area you need to watch, that this little axis of heaviest snow could shift north. It could shift south. But it's certainly going to be cold enough for Minneapolis for snow. That's for sure. But Eau Claire, Wisconsin, 5 to 7 inches of snow predicted. So this is as far east as I'll work for now. But hopefully that helped you guys. I hope it did. I hope it did for sure. So let's talk about the severe weather with this. We have a slight risk of severe storms tomorrow. That is a level 2 out of 5. And I think from Shreveport to Jackson, Mississippi, Greenville, Mississippi to Memphis to Jackson, Tennessee, all the way up into the Paducah area of Kentucky, it's going to see severe storms tomorrow. The potential. There is a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. And there is a chance for damaging winds, a 15% risk of damaging winds pushing 50 knots or higher, which is around 55 to 60 miles per hour. So we're going to have some severe weather tomorrow, but luckily it has not uptrended. But we'll talk about how the HRRR model says the storm mode will be tomorrow. As you can tell, the snow's falling up here, but we already talked about that. But here we go. As early as around 8, 9 a.m. tomorrow, you already have isolated storms. Some could be strong, firing off. As far north as Little Rock, as far south as eastern Texas. We keep this going here. We're getting into about midday. Some heavier showers, maybe some storms moving into Memphis, all the way up to Paducah, Kentucky, southeast Missouri. Some damaging winds could mix. There's some parameters that certainly point to some damaging winds in these areas. And then we start to get into the afternoon hours. And listen, I mean, anywhere from those regions I just mentioned, this entire area could see severe weather tomorrow. It's just keep your eye on the sky, on a radar. And just if you get under if you go under a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, guys, please just take it serious. But I'm not expecting a big outbreak of severe weather. Hopefully it doesn't. I don't eat my words with this. I hope not. And we wake up and it's all of a sudden a significant threat of severe weather. But the dynamics will support some damaging winds and an isolated tornado. So we need to watch out for these. And then as we're getting into the evening hours, this will turn more into a line of storms, probably move through Memphis around dinner time, move through Jackson around the same time, and getting to areas of northeast Louisiana. And then throughout the overnight hours, work its way through Tennessee, western Tennessee, all of Mississippi, and then areas of Kentucky also. And then it will lose some steam as it gets into daybreak Thursday morning. So that's a severe weather threat. Let's talk about this potential pattern change that people are starting to kind of talk a little bit about. So this is the latest National Weather Service Climate Prediction Center on the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. So this takes us through the 25th to the last day of January, the rest of January. So I know everybody's saying we're running out of time. Let's cancel winter. Man, it's amazing. Not just on YouTube on the comments, but how many people are just saying the winter's just over. I mean, it's January 17th. If you were telling me winter was over and it was February 1st, I just couldn't take you serious. I know it's been a kind of a bummer of a start of a winter, but I mean, listen, we can have some massive winter storms all the way into March, guys. So, if we get into March and winter just doesn't end up materializing, I mean, if y'all want to bash me, y'all can. I don't think I ever predicted any type of terrible cold winter. There's a lot of other people that certainly try to predict seasons a season out. I've never done that. A lot of people have asked me to, but I've always stayed away from that because I don't believe in them. I just don't think you can accurately predict a season out. Some people will put winter forecast like the summer before the winter. Like, how can you do that? It's just a shot in the dark. But people love those kind of videos. They love them. Those usually get highly viewed, and I honestly think that's why people do them. But I'm never going to do that because there's not enough history, I don't think, to really back up any kind of serious winter forecast 2 seasons out. You know what I'm saying? So what we do know is this below average area of temperatures is starting to shift a little bit further east with each update. But what we do know is the western areas and the central areas of the lower 48 is going to be below average temperature-wise. We know this is coming, and we have a good idea that the storm track is going to favor something like this, and we're going to have a very small chance for above average precipitation. You match that with a little bit of cold air, and the coldest time of the year, which is middle January to late January, you're just asking for some kind of snowstorm or winter storm for somebody. So there is a chance in the same time frame for above average precipitation. So let's take a look at the European today. What's interesting to me is since the GFS updated, it seems like the European is the model showing all the crazy winter storms in the long range. And then the GFS is the warmer model, which normally the GFS is that crazy that crazy drunk uncle that's always showing the crazy weather models. So in this case, the European has been the more colder model, and honestly, it hasn't always been right. But we'll take a look at the European here. This is the system we just broke down. This slides through. We get done with that. And by the way, this is a tricky system also for the Northeast. This could dump an appreciable amount of frozen precipitation for the Northeast. We'll break that down tomorrow when we have a little bit more confidence. So if you're in the ski country and the higher elevations of New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire, even watch out Massachusetts, and definitely Maine, you want to watch this same system that's going to be going across the middle of the country over the next 48 hours, because this is going to deliver some significant snowfall accumulations for your areas. And I would watch this entire area right into here. I really would, guys. And I don't have my cursor up, so I got rid of it there for a second, so I apologize, or I would circle. But as we're getting into this weekend, another storm. This is getting into Saturday evening. You can already tell another storm starting to crank up over the south central and central plains. This moves in, could overspread some snow in areas of Missouri. Gets very close to maybe a little bit of snowfall for Chicago as we get into Sunday morning. Show some light to moderate snow for areas of the Ohio Valley, even as far south as Kentucky. Look at a little bit of freezing rain and ice showing up for areas of I knew it was going to do that. Here we go. All right, let's see if I can get this back to where it was. Here it goes. Shows a little bit of winter weather into the mountains of North Carolina as we're getting into Sunday morning this coming weekend. The Euro is much colder than the GFS, and I'll show you what I mean here in a second. I mean, if the Euro is correct, we're going to have probably a decent snowfall event for northern Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana. I have a guy in Ohio that just wants in Newark, Ohio, to get accumulating snow. I'm pulling for you, man. I really am. But if it's the European model, it's going to show a snowstorm potentially for Ohio. But don't immediately think that's going to happen, and I'll show you why here in a second. But the European, as we're getting into the later half of this weekend, shows heavy snow for West Virginia, areas of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Sunday evening. Look at the heavy snow moving into New York State. This is not an I-95 storm. It's still too warm for you guys. But look up here in Cleveland to Buffalo, Pittsburgh, State College, Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's getting very close to Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Philadelphia. And this rides through, but that low pressure is just not favorable. It literally rides up the I-95 corridor. But look at this very heavy snow into areas of Pennsylvania, New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire, and then eventually turns into a huge winter storm for Maine. So there's that. And then as we're getting into early next week, midway next week, here comes another system. A little bit more cold air oozes further south, buckles the jet stream a little bit further south. So therefore, low pressure takes a little bit of a more southerly route and shows a little bit of snow for the mountains midway next week. And look at this. This turns into a significant I-95 from basically southeast Virginia up snowstorm midway to late next week. Even shows an area of snow in North Carolina. But guys, I'm just showing you this will change next run. And let me show you the GFS. Stick with me, because the GFS shows nothing like this. But this shows a significant winter storm basically for the areas that got left out on the storm before this. But this is past 7 to 8, 9 days out. But this would show a potential blizzard for Boston. But I'm basically showing you this because, listen, the pattern is active. It's going to be active. It's just where are these storms going to track, and where's the cold air going to link into? You look at the GFS, we get past this first system we just broke down. Here comes our second system. I can already tell you it looks a little bit different, but I can tell you the GFS, even the GFS, guys, the GFS brings this weekend, midway through this weekend, bring some snow for northern Missouri, bring some snow for Chicago, a moderate snow event for basically the northern 2/3 of Illinois. As we're getting into Sunday morning, it's snowing in Indianapolis. Pretty decent snowfall events. Snowing for northern Ohio, snowing for most of Michigan as we're getting into midday Sunday. But as you can tell, it's much further north than the European. The European has snow way down here, all the way into Kentucky. And this shoots this low pressure all the way into southeast Canada and brings a lot of snow for the northeast. But it certainly is not a favorable track. It actually goes from rain to snow, but then some back-end northwest flow kind of event as we get into the later part of this coming weekend. But you can tell it's just a totally different look. So here comes that second storm, and then here comes that third storm. still showing up also. And here it comes. This is getting into midway next week, the same storm that the European showed, but the low pressure is not way down here. It's way up here. So shows a substantial snowstorm for areas of the Ohio Valley again. Listen, that's why there's a lot of people upset. I think that's where I see the biggest complaints is people in Ohio, in the Ohio Valley. And it's not a complaint. It's not bothering me. That's not what I mean by it. But I know you guys certainly seem like y'all used to see more snow. But listen, the pattern coming up favors y'all, in my opinion. But here comes the GFS, another area, another storm. And this flies through. It's not favorable, though, like the European is for the I-95 corridor. All rain down here. And if you were to keep this going, more cold air oozes down. Here comes another system. But this is like 11 to 12 days out. But as you can tell, the cold air oozes a little bit further south, so this would be a mid-Atlantic snowstorm. If you get into when you're getting into the last couple of days of January, which, guys, is not a reliable time frame, but it just gives you the idea. There's cold air nearby, and if you're wondering if you're in the southeast, we got to smash this southeast ridge. If we want any hope, you got to get rid of even the slightest nudge of this southeast ridge, and that is honestly what's pumping too much warm air into areas of the south. It really is. So, and you look at the European ensembles, it shows it well, guys. I mean, there goes with that first system. Here comes the second system, flies through, we watch. Here comes the third system. And in general, this is a big signal for a cross-polar flow. Cold air dumping into the lower 48, but how far does it dump? How far does this jet stream buckle? You got a tall ridge building into Alaska. Pretty decent look. So this will allow for pieces of energy to fly down this kind of trough, the base of this trough. But where and how far does this trough dig? This push of cold air, how far does it dig? It's a big question. It's a big question. If it digs pretty far, then you can have a track of a low pressure that kind of goes like this. That would favor more areas of the south. If it's more like this, it's probably just going to cut just like this. So, and as you can tell, there's that window, right? You got a good cold air push. I think this favors big time the Ohio Valley, maybe areas of the northern mid-south, maybe the mid-Atlantic, certainly the northeast. But how deep is this cold push of air? That's a big question, guys. And I think we lose the window as we get into maybe the first part of February, and then the southeast ridge, which is what this is, begins to flex. But this is to give you an idea of the blend of all models. Here comes the first system, right? System number one. This is more so just a central U.S. snowstorm, Great Lakes snowstorm, okay? And then potentially an area of the interior Northeast could get hit by this too. So this flies through. Here comes the second system, right? Snow a little bit further south into the Ohio Valley. Not a big signal for the Ohio Valley, but it's snow. But watch as the Northeast begins to add up. Okay, here comes the next signal. And then look how much it adds up after that. And then we're about 10 days out at this point. And look how the Ohio Valley is starting to fill in. I mean, you're not seeing foot snowfall totals, but several inches. From the blend of all models showing up for the Ohio Valley, starting to ooze into Kentucky, even Tennessee a little bit. West Virginia, you're getting some love. Pennsylvania, Missouri. If you were to keep this all going all the way, just through 264 hours out, it shows a substantial snowpack building here in this region. So, 33-minute video, guys. We went really deep. Hopefully this video gets out there, because it would stink if it only got 5,000-6,000 views. But if it does, whatever, it's all good. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all. That's all I got. Like, I didn't talk for very long, but thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and have yourselves a very blessed night.